Hello, welcome to the conversation in News Central Television. This is the program where we bring you up to speed with all the political happenings on the African continent. I am Gbenga Aborowa.
And I am Rita Omodia. Today on the conversation, we will be looking at expectations from President Ruto, who is now Kenya's 5th president after his inauguration yesterday, Tuesday, the 13th of September.
We will also be looking at events in Zambia, where the chief prosecutor has voiced concerns over her life after the withdrawal of all her security detail. Rita, we have a new dispensation in Kanga. I'm still getting used to addressing William Ruto as President Ruto.
You know, over time, at the point I was saying Uhuru Kenyatta, and then I had to correct myself and say William Ruto, because
it will take some time to go, or not calling him Deputy President Ruto. Yes.
Yeah, I know. Yesterday was quite colorful. He said so many things of what he would do, and that would be our focus.
He's hit the ground running. I mean, just looking at his 24-hour scorecard, he's done quite a lot. But we'll get into all of that in detail during the course of our conversation.
Definitely.
It was indeed a colorful scene at fanfare as compatriots trooped out en masse at the Kasarani Stadium in Nairobi, Kenya, to witness the inauguration of William Samoei Ruto. Alongside his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, William Ruto was sworn in as Kenya's president on Tuesday after narrowly winning the August 9th election in East Africa's most stable democracy, and quickly signaled that his leadership will be an all-inclusive one. With over 15 heads of state from Africa and international representatives, William Ruto, while taking the oath of office, promised to defend the integrity of the country and uplift the livelihood of the people.
He also gave a preview of what his administration will be centered on. This included job creation, fertilizer subsidy, budgetary allocation increases to the judiciary, financial inclusion, servicing of debts, and gender parity. The Supreme Court last week rejected a challenge by losing candidate and long-time opposition figure Raila Odinga of the official results, completing a markedly peaceful election in the country with a history of troubled ones. And now joining us live for this conversation, we have Rita Bosire, is a Kenyan-based political analyst. We also have Susan Kanga. She is a business development specialist. Lady and gentlemen, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
So I'll begin with you, Susan. And this from a phrase from the new president of Kenya. He said, "A village boy has become the president of Kenya." It's one of the phrases that caught the major headlines yesterday while Ruto gave his first inauguration speech. I wonder, how did this speech resonate among Kenyans?
Thank you. It
Susan, are you with us?
was yes.
Okay, go on, please.
Yes, it was a surprise, and we welcome His Excellency the President Ruto, and I liked his statement, the opening statement during his inauguration, and some of the key highlights that were brought up. And also for the fact that he appreciates that we have, Kenya has a lot of debts that needs to be cleared. And also there is a lot in terms of development that needs to be done. But most importantly, his first days in office, what he looks forward to achieve, which of course, for me, I call it the 12-point agenda that he had for us in his first days in the office.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Now, Richard, yesterday we saw, and just a few seconds ago, if you've been monitoring our feed, we saw President Ruto and former President Uhuru Kenyatta shake hands with each other. We do know the history of animosity that has been ongoing between the two. Ruto was Kenyatta's deputy president, and the two didn't see eye to eye, especially in a second term as president. What can we make of this, knowing that in the wake of the Supreme Court victory and the elections, Uhuru Kenyatta never called President Ruto to congratulate him? What are people saying about this? And can we say that the bitter war among them is over, or they had to put their personal interest aside for the country in general? Hello, Richard. Are you there? We don't seem to have Richard's audio, so I'll direct that question to Susan. Susan, would you like to pick up from there?
Susan, are you with us? Okay. All right. Well,
yes. Sorry, I was on mute. We all know that our former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, was in support of the Azimio candidate, who was Raila Amolo Odinga. And for long, he was supporting Raila Amolo Odinga, given the fact that he worked with him in his last bit of his final race as a president, and Raila Odinga supported him much. And it came as a shocker to President Uhuru, former president, that Ruto had taken the position of the presidency, and it was not his expectation. And I think for any normal human being, he would not take it easily. But from yesterday's experience during the inauguration, I think he did the best that he could do. One was to hand over power, and secondly was to congratulate President Ruto, and the third, to accept the appointment that he was given as a negotiator for the Ethiopia and DRC peace talks, which for me was a very positive support, a positive show towards supporting Ruto's presidency.
Okay, Susan, another opposing side, apart from Uhuru Kenyatta not supporting his deputy, is the main opposition candidate who has been on the opposing side for years in Kenya, Raila Odinga. And it was obvious that he wasn't there. Now, there were reports that he had to travel, while there were also reports of him expressing serious concerns with the election results. Now, what becomes of Odinga in the political terrain, and are we likely to see support from the opposition for William Ruto?
As it stands, for me, there is no opposition. There is no opposition because in the Constitution, we only have, if you look at the parliamentary system, we only have the majority, leader of majority, and leader of minority. For long, the other parties have always taken the opposition side to defend the country and also to do oversight. But from the looks of things as it stands today, I say this because I've heard the parliamentarians who are in the Azimio side saying that they are not going to be in opposition and they're just going to work in the government. And for the candidate for Azimio, Raila Amolo Odinga, of course, it was not easy, and it's not easy for him to take it lightly like that, because one, there were issues around electoral fraud, and this went ahead to our court systems, and it was thrown out. And the basis for throwing out the cases, the case was very clear, but to some extent it was not clear to Azimio and even some of the voters. So on that note, Raila Odinga it would not be easy for him to accept that Ruto is the president, but he will go. He said it that he will go with the court decision, though for them they do not accept. That means a lot. That the judicial system, the law prevails, but in their heart it is not what they expected, and they have not accepted it. So it's understandable that he was not there, and he was not part of the process, though invited. And I think it's good for him to take his time, and the Azimio team, so that they see on how best they are going to support our country, Kenya, going forward towards ensuring that the oversight role is fully realized.
Thank you very much, Susan. Your background is business, and President Ruto had a very busy first day in office, made two important decisions yesterday It halved the price of fertilizer on one hand as a response to the growing food crisis in the East Africa region. And number two, he took away the subsidy in fuel. So Kenyans will be paying more for petrol. What has been the reaction to those major decisions he made, and what are the long-term effects of those decisions? The fertilizer subsidy and, of course, removing the fuel subsidy.
Yeah, for me, that was very, very interesting because one, reducing the price of fertilizer. And I asked myself, what is the basis in which he's going to work around this? Probably he's going to give subsidies to the produce or to the manufacturers, or how is he going to counter on the reduction of prices? Also, what did not come out clearly on the removal of the subsidy, because if a subsidy is removed on the other side, and probably a subsidy, the same subsidy is introduced on the fertilizer, then he says again that the subsidy do not make sense. It is not still yet clear to me. But what I liked so much about his speech was the issue around support to cooperatives, and specifically to empower the SMEs through financial support. Of course, this is something that we have been singing and asking. We have our cooperatives, and we know that the cooperatives play a very important role in the Kenyan economy. Close to 60% of our GDP is through the cooperative, that is the marketing cooperatives to be precise, the producer organizations. And this is very important. Now that is coming in to support the SMEs in the cooperative movement, that would grow the economy beyond what we have today, which for me was very, very positive and a very positive start from the business angle. On the subsidy is not yet clear until he's clear on how he's going to reduce on the price of fertilizer. Is it that he's going to issue finance to pay to the companies, or is it a subsidy to farmers, or how is he going to
or
do
maybe
it?
tax breaks, perhaps? Maybe tax breaks for the
yes, or tax breaks. But again, you had in his statements that people have to pay taxes, and he's going to be spearhead the process.
But he's given a timeline, and he said this subsidy will come into effect next week. So I guess as the days go by, we'll have a clearer picture on the exact nature of the subsidy.
Yes, and we're waiting for that. Yeah, for me, I'm really excited to see what happens in the next few days, particularly on this on the fertilizer and also on the subsidy, because again, you know that if he scraps the subsidy, the unga prices currently are high. And again, he says that he's going to empower the food producers. So how is he going to empower the food producers? Probably through, again, reducing the fertilizer costs. But that is a long-term thing.
Okay, we'll definitely see how that pans out, Susan. But I'd like to bring in Richard right now. Richard Bosire, a political affairs analyst. Now, Richard, aside the fertilizer subsidy and the removal of fuel subsidy, we also had Ruto share support for the judiciary and the IEBC, and he actually allotted an extra 3 billion Kenyan shillings to this arm of government for the 2023/2022 budget, and appointed 6 judges who were overlooked by Uhuru Kenyatta. I wonder, now he said the reason for this budgetary increase allocations to the judiciary was for the independency. Now, do you believe this will promote it, or do you feel that this will form an allegiance to William Ruto?
Thank you for inviting me to the show. Sorry for the text issues, I couldn't connect via Zoom. The president has promised Christmas annual to the judiciary. Today, he appointed the judges, and they appointed the 6 judges who are rejected by the former president. So the president is officially a good working relationship But this is just like the starting point, like a honeymoon in our marriage. Because in the next 2 or 3 years, this executive are expected to rub shoulders. So the executive wants to be same in the next 2 to 3 years. Expect some conflict ahead between the two of the government.
All right, I'll take a question to Susan. Can you hear me, Richard? Thank you.
Yeah.
I would like to ask this question now to Susan. Susan, education was not left out. Ruto ruled out plans to set up a task force to establish the viability of the competency-based curriculum CBC program launched by his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta in 2018. Now, Susan, what is the popular view on this curriculum and what sort of reform do you think the education sector needs?
I don't. I'm ish about this one because CBC was introduced early this last year. That was in 2020, 2021. And it is not something that you just wake up and scrap, because we have children or students who have been already introduced into the CBC system. Removing this system again would cause a lot of harm into to the children. So I totally agree with the president that a task force needs to be formed, and I believe this is a task force of competent educationists or education specialists who are going to look at what are the gaps that are there in CBC, if parents have issues with CBC, and what are the opportunities or what are the milestones achieved so far in introduction of CBC. After that, then this is going to inform the next decision. And the president did not say that he's going to scrap CBC. This was mentioned during the campaign. But I'm glad that now he said that he's going to form a task force, and the task force will give feedback on the next step. So that is very, very important. And I'm sure a task force will be a competent team who is going to give us quality feedback, because this is something that is hugely going to affect our children.
Thank you very much, Susan. Now, Richard, President Ruto will go down in Kenya's history as the first deputy president to clinch the presidency in his first attempt. Now, just yesterday, looking at his day one scorecard, he did promise a lot and he's hit the ground running. When is he likely to name his cabinet, and what are the challenges President Ruto is bound to face in his next 100 days as he kicks off his administration? Okay, I think that sound means we've lost connection with Richard, so I'll just direct that question to Susan. President Ruto seems to have hit the ground running. He's promising a lot. You know, he's touched on the judiciary, education, and the economy. So when are we likely to have a cabinet? What type of shape is this cabinet going to have? And what might be the obstacles to all his promises? Because he does seem to be promising a lot. Do you think he'll be able to deliver? Let's just look at the first 100 days in office.
One of the advantages that President Ruto has is that he was vice president in the previous regime. So he understands the government so well, including the various offices within the government. However, he has his own team that is coming on board as cabinet ministers and other key officials that he's bringing on board. Again, he has a task because President Ruto had so many people who are supporting him, and he had a lot of promises. There's already some outline of how his cabinet is going to look like.
Now, talking about, sorry to jump in there. I didn't want to lose my train of thought, so I just said I should put it in here. He made a few appointments yesterday. The judges, none of them were women. Do you think women will have a role to play in President Ruto's administration? Because the term hustler, it has a masculine connotation.
And he even mentioned he would promote gender parity. So to say, he mentioned that, but his deputy was not even. Yeah, he mentioned it yesterday.
Yeah, I think in Ruto's government, we are seeing so many women being brought on board. Looking through the gender lens, I'm seeing so many women, so many youth, including a member of parliament who are young women who have already been brought on board. But again, if you look at the composition of the judges, we have gender inclusion in the composition of the judges.
The chief judge and the deputy chief justice are women.
Yes, yeah, they are women, and we also have other judges who are women as well. If you look at his already the kind of cabinet that is already rumored that he's going to have, I see women who have already been proposed in the cabinet. So I'm not worried about gender inclusion, because he talks of gender parity, and he's passionate about inclusion, particularly for women, youth, and people living with disability. The only challenge that President Ruto might face is on the transition. Of course, there's a lot of expectation for him, but in any transition period, there is always some delays because of people being onboarded. People need to be acquainted with the systems. People need to be signed into the systems. So it will take time before that takes place. But of course, when that takes place, we expect him to start delivering to his promises.
Okay, we have Richard back with us, and I will take up from where you last stopped. Now, you said that there are a lot of the challenges that he would face to be a transition. Now, Richard, do you believe that will be the major challenge that Ruto will have in the next 100 days? We've been talking rather of the promises he has made, his campaign promises and all that. What sort of challenge do you think Ruto will have in the next 100 days?
Among top challenges, he thought that will lower the cost of living for Kenya. I will make sure that the fertilizer is available for the farmers in Kenya, and also make sure that the price of milk flour, because known as food, comes down. But fortunately, he will be able to take the external factors, like today the price of petrol in Kenya has gone high, over 200 Kenyan shillings, which will also affect the cost of production, cost of living, and it will also affect all Kenyans, because with high fuel prices in Kenya, everything will shoot up. So we are among the challenges that will face. I think he should now work around the clock to ensure that the price of petrol comes down in Kenya. Because if he doesn't work on that, most of the promises will not be achieved. So that's the main part that we have to work on the next 100 days. And also make sure that there's reduction of wastage in the government, because the Kenyan government is a heavy spender.
But Richard, permit me to come in here. President Ruto did say he was taking off the subsidy because multinationals and some few individuals were making profits off the back of this subsidy regime. Don't you think? I mean, it was going to come off at some point, and it's not sustainable. That money could be channeled into more developmental projects like education or health.
Yeah, I remember President Ruto said that he has removed the subsidy for fuel, and which in turn has made the petrol price to go up. He's saying the subsidy money goes to a few people on cartels, which is very close to the government. So we're expecting the fuel price to go higher in the next 1 month or 2 months until the government intervenes. So it's watch and see, but if the government doesn't intervene, the cost of fuel will continue going up in Kenya.
All right, thank you so much, Richard Bosire. We do hope that Ruto will be able to fulfill his obligations. Thank you also, Susan Gbenga, for joining us. Yes, Susan Gbenga for joining us on the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And right now we'll switch gears. We'll take a quick break and switch gears to Sierra Leone, where Zambia, where we have issues with the parliament, where the Zambia chief prosecutor has said that she is afraid for her life after the government took away our security. We have details of this after the break. Stay with us.